Yo, what's good, YouTube? In today's video, we're getting into my top 5 Zyro recoil loadouts. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like for the algorithm, subscribe with notifications turned on, and let's get into it. All right, so hopping into it here real quick. Our first gun today is going to be the MTZ-556. This is basically your top meta assault rifle, and for good reason. It's really solid. It's basically got zero recoil. I use it a lot in my videos as my primary when I'm using an SMG or making a video on an SMG. So this build might be a little bit familiar to some of you guys that regularly watch my videos, but otherwise, I haven't actually broken it down. So first thing here is going to be a compensator. We're gonna go down in here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go throw on the beautiful Casus brake. This is such a good compensator for a variety of reasons. It helps tremendously with your overall horizontal recoil. It doesn't do anything else. It maybe slows down your ADS ever so slightly, but it also does help your firing aiming stability, basically meaning that your overall visual recoil is going to be a little bit less when you have this attachment on there. And it definitely is noticeable if you go from this to, let's say, a VT7 Spearfire suppressor or something else like that. It definitely is noticeable. After that, in the barrel section, we're going to go throw on the MTZ Clinch Pro barrel just because this is the best barrel in here. I know I've seen other people kind of go back and forth. It's like, you know, why would you not want to run the MTZ Drifter Heavy Long Barrel? Because you look at it, you know, your effective damage range is 52 meters, which is basically farther than the MTZ Clinch Pro barrel. But if you look down at the bullet velocity for this, we get a 26% increase instead of a 15% increase. So while your shots maybe go out an extra 2-3 meters farther from 52 down to 49.3, it's not going to make a difference because we're already at the top end of the assault rifle range, and your shots are going to hit faster with this barrel on here by far. So you always want to have this barrel on here instead of the MTZ Drifter Heavy Long Barrel. Underbarrel section, we're gonna go down here and throw on the Brune Heavy support grip. This is basically our tried and true underbarrel. We don't need to switch this up to go for something crazy to have zero recoil on this gun. It's gonna feel very, very easy to use when you had the Brune Heavy on there. So I always recommend for you guys to use this underbarrel. After that, in the magazine section, you go throw on, of course, the 50 round mag. This is basically kind of what you do. You don't want to run anything else besides a 50 round drum. If you guys aren't running a 50 round drum, you're pretty much doing it wrong. So always go ahead and run that 50. And then lastly, we have an optic, which you guys can switch out for something else, which I'll show you guys that I use frequently in my videos. For any guys that don't want to run iron sights, this is going to be your optic of choice, which is the JGod glassless. This right here, if you have this exact build, this is going to have a tad bit more recoil than what I'm going to show you guys here without an optic. I'm giving you guys at least an option. So I've ran this, and this is actually really solid. But like I said, it will have a little bit more recoil, so you can run the JGod glasses, and that can be your full build right there. Or you can take that off and go for a stock and throw on the MTZ Marauder stock, which gives you gun kick control and recoil control at a nice 21, 8, and 9% increase to your overall recoil control, which is really solid. So throw this on there with the JGod glassless, and pretty much either which way, you really can't go wrong. I've been running this build a heck of a lot, and it's really good. Of course, go ahead and get your screenshot if you want to. All right, next up here is going to be a build for the Uzi, aka the WSP9. This is a really solid gun. We can actually have great overall mobility and also have very little recoil. So let's get into it. First thing in the muzzle is going to be that Zeman 35. This is a pretty standard, a tried and true attachment for these SMGs. Just works out really nicely when you have that Zeman 35 on there. It does, you know, of course, shorten your overall radar ping from about 3 seconds down to about 1.5, which is pretty solid. A lot of people don't be looking at the radar, which is evident by some of the comments I get. But anyways, we have vertical recoil increase, or it helps you with vertical, it helps you with your horizontal and your firing aiming stability, meaning there's going to be less shake overall on the gun. So the Zeman 35 is going to be fantastic here for this gun. After that, we're going to go to the barrel section. You go all the way down to the very end for that Hiss short light barrel. This speeds up your gun while realistically almost not giving you any extra recoil. It says 3 and 5%, but the way the recoil pattern is on the Uzi, you really don't feel it hardly at all, and it does speed your gun up. And it also doesn't give you any sort of damage range cons, anything else like that, bullet velocity cons. So this is a great barrel because you're going to be using your Uzi in close quarters combat, and you don't want to be slow. I mean, that's terrible. You want an SMG to be fast and mobile, not slow and blocky just for the sake of having, you know, no recoil. So this is a great option. Underbarrel section, we're gonna go down here and throw on the DR6 hand stop, which you guys could realistically, if you want to, go throw on the XRK edge, and you'll be perfectly good with that. Between these two, you really can't go wrong. You're just gonna get a little bit more of that ADS strafe speed with the XRK edge, as opposed to get a little bit more sprint to fire speed with the DR6. So just kind of go back and forth between the two. Neither of them are gonna message your overall recoil control capabilities. They're gonna be good kind of regardless of which one you choose. Now we're going down here to the magazine section. Of course, we're gonna go throw on the 40 rounds mag. not the 50. The 50, unfortunately, I know a lot of this stuff is gonna be behind my face cam, but the ADS speed in penalty goes from 9% to 15% on your 50 round mag, and you do feel noticeably slower. So if you really want to, you can throw on the 50 round mag and that's gonna be all right. But overall, I believe because the Uzi's not a super high fire rate gun, that 40 rounds is definitely more than adequate. I've ran this so many times and it feels great whenever I run the 40. I picked the 50 up off ground loot and that feels all right, but pretty much only for ground loot, not when I'm trying to run around here with an actual loadout gun. Last thing, we're gonna go to that stock section, because you guys could, if you wanted to, throw in like a Jack glassless or something like that, and pretty much keep the build as is. Like, I'll just show you guys this. Like, if you could throw on like a Jack glassless, throw that on there, that's gonna be a great build if you guys want to try that one out. But I realistically don't mind the iron sights. I want a little bit more speed, so we're gonna go throw on that WSP factory stock. This does give you more speed, and it says it messes with your recoil control. I'm telling you guys, it says it messes with it, but overall it only jumps ever so slightly, so I can't make it have literally 0 recoil. Maybe if you don't have this and you throw on the Jack glasses, it's gonna have basically 0, but it'll have a tad bit, a very ever so slight little bit, but you're gonna be faster, and it's nowhere close to running like a no stock, which that is probably a little bit absurd in recoil wise for a lot of people out there. It's crazy how the no stock versus the WSP factory makes a gigantic difference in your overall controllability of the gun. So I recommend this, and you're gonna have a great mobility, 0 recoil SMG. Of course, go ahead and get y'all a screenshot. All right, next up, what we're gonna do is we're gonna be getting in here to a build for the Holger 26. The Holger 26 and then the Holger 556 are both meta, you know, long range options, but this one's gonna have less recoil than the assault rifle version. So we're gonna make you guys a build here for this, because I mean, this is actually a really fun and good gun to use, and I've used it here a few times as my primary long range, though I've kind of moved a little more to that MTZ because it's a little bit more mobile than an LMG, of course. So we're going back here. We're gonna go through on the Costas break here for our first attachment. I don't really think there's a reason for you guys to run anything else like a silencer. Throwing on the Costas break is gonna ensure that you have very, very little recoil, and that's gonna be really awesome. Barrel section, we have a couple different options in here, but you can realistically see what they do. What we're really looking for, of course, here is going to be our extending out of range, and of course our recoil control. And the Holger factory barrel is what's going to do that for us. Of course, it's going to slow us down, but it does boost you out to almost 40 meters of effective damage range and 873 meters per second in bullet velocity, which is definitely really solid. So it's going to be a great long range option, and it's already going to have very little recoil just with these two attachments. Now we're gonna go ahead and add to that with our, you know, you guys guessed it, probably your Bruin Heavy support grip. There's a reason I have this thing favorited, is because I use it so much. That's pretty much one of the only attachments beside that Zeman 35 they'll have favorited. I just use it all the time, and it just works out great. So you guys definitely should go ahead and use this. You don't have to mess with the magazine because it's got a 60 round mag, and of course, I mean, there's no reason to go bigger and, you know, waste an attachment on a magazine. It's already got 60 in the mag, so you don't really have to do that. But our next attachment here is going to be that Jack glassless, and this is a beautiful, beautiful optic here for a variety of guns. It doesn't matter if it's an SMG, an AR, an LMG. You could really run the Jack glassless on whatever you want. So we're going to go ahead and throw that on here. And lastly, in that stock section, we go throw on the Ascent Lord stock, or Ascent Lord stock, whatever you want to pronounce this thing like. But basically, this gives you aiming idle sway, recoil control, gun kick control, and firing aiming stability. It is going to slow you down, but you're not really going to feel it too much because it gives you a nice 18, 7, and 7% boost to your overall recoil control capabilities. This is going to be a very low to 0 recoil gun, so y'all gonna want to try this out. Of course, go ahead and get your screenshot. All right, next up, we're gonna be hopping in here to the STB 556. I did actually recently make a video on this, and this gun is really fun to use, very, very good to use, and it's surprisingly incredibly underrated. Not a lot of people use the MW2 guns, and this is one of those ones you guys should be using. It's got a great damage profile. I mean, it's got a great mobility, and of course, 0 recoil, or basically very little. So first thing, muzzle category, we're gonna go in here and use pretty much what we've been using, which is gonna be the Costas break. I actually, in my video, when I was making, like, getting some gameplays on this, dropping like some 40 bombs with it, I switched between the Costas break and the VT7. The VT7 is gonna have a little bit more recoil, but I can control that pretty well, so it didn't really bother me. And I like getting a little bit extra range out of it. So if you are feeling pretty confident in yourself recoil control wise, throw the VT7 on there, and it's going to bounce a little bit, but overall in game you're going to feel great when you have that aim assist kick in, stuff like that. So Costas break, though, is going to be your lower recoil option overall. Barrel section, what we're going to do is we're going to go throw on this Bruin S620 barrel. This is the largest barrel in here, which pushes us out to the exact same actual effective damage range as the Holger 26, 39.6 meters, and we have basically an 840 meter per second bullet velocity, which is really solid, and it does give us recoil control benefits, which is super awesome. So we're gonna have this on here for our next attachment, or a second attachment. On the barrel section, I'm not gonna explain this one. Brune heavy support grip. You guys know the drill on this one, so just throw that on there. Magazine, one of the only downsides to this gun is the fact that it doesn't have a 50 or a 60 round mag. I would say that if it had a 50 or a 60, a lot more people would be running it kind of in general, but overall the 42 is going to be sufficient. It's not a crazy high fire rate gun where you need a 60, otherwise you're gonna feel like you're gonna be out of bullets instantaneously. So 42 is going to work for this. And lastly, in the optics section, the jack glasses, which is really just going to round out this whole build, make it so you can use it as a primary long range weapon, and it's going to give you very little visual recoil as well. I really enjoy that jack glasses for that. It really just help you out. It does minimize much visual recoil a lot of guns have, so you can make guns feel like they have less recoil than they actually do just by having this optic on there. So this is my full build here on the STB, and here is your screenshot opportunity. And last but definitely not least, here is going to be a very fast Tctekk SMG in the Lachmann Shroud that's also going to be insanely controllable for everybody to use and have pretty solid mobility. I know I can make something on the Superior 46, but everyone and their mom's got a Superior 46 build, so I want to show you guys something that probably not a lot of people are using that's really good. So first thing in here, of course, it's a Lachmann Shroud. We're not using this in the burst. We're gonna go down here to the conversion kit, and you guys need the conversion kit to make this gun actually work. You should always run the conversion kit if you're going to be running the Lachmann Shroud. So that is our first thing, and that blocks off, of course, a few different options we have. But next thing is gonna be the magazine. We're gonna go through on the 40 round mag. I personally am not a fan of running the 50 round mag. It totally chalks your overall ability to be fast with this gun. I don't like it at all. I'm just personally not a fan. So if you don't mind being a little bit slower, you can get an extra 10 rounds in your mag. But even when the regular Lachmann sub was meta back in like Warzone 2, like the Modern Warfare 2 integration, I still didn't run the 50 round mag on it just because I did not like it. So I'd always just go for the 40. That is my preference. Though you can go for the 50, you just will be slower. Just keep that in mind. Ammunition side thing, we're gonna go for the 9mm sub HP rounds, and the reason we're going for some of these rounds down here is not just because it's the greatest option out there to have. It's realistically because we have so many things blocked off that would otherwise be useful. We just kind of have to go for something, and this is going to help you basically slow people down when you're taking them out. So the sub HP, it's going to basically be the crippling power, so it's going to prevent people from running away from you. So even if they have a Superior 46 and you shoot them, they're not going to be able to sprint away from you. So that is pretty nice. Under barrel section, we're gonna go throw on the XRK Edge. This is really solid for just keeping up our overall strafe speed. I really enjoy being able to strafe around with this gun. It is not exactly a superior movement speed wise, so having the ability to strafe back and forth in your ADSing, really quite solid, and that does make your ADS, overall aim assist kick in, and you get crazy sticky aim assist. A lot of people don't be doing that, don't be moving back and forth when they shoot. I'm wondering how something like my shot is so sticky. I'm always moving, and I also just am good at the game, good settings, etc, etc, etc. So we have this on here for that attachment. Now for our final attachment, we're gonna go to the laser, and we're gonna throw on this Chimera RYL33 laser light. This gives you aim locking steadiness, tack stance spread, sprint to fire speed, and aim down sight speed, which is really solid. Nothing about this is recoil control based realistically. It just makes your gun a little bit faster and makes it feel more steady when you're kind of moving around, which is basically what we want with an SMG. And sometimes it's a bit nice in a close quarter situation to have a laser that you can kind of see. It is not that bad. So I really enjoy actually running this exact setup here. Of course, this is my full build for the Lachmann Shroud. And of course, here is your ability to get that screenshot. That being said, that has been my top 5. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like for the algorithm, subscribe as notifications turned on. Check out this other video on screen. I'll see you all next time.